So, all right, I'm here to talk about different ways to go green because it seems to be a pretty big topic nowadays. You see green everywhere. So I just want to give you a couple, small different things you can do, change in your life, and really show you the impact that it's going to make. Because most people think it's not really that big of a deal. So really, it is everywhere. It's in the news, politics, internet. You can really find it anywhere on the internet. It's everywhere. But really what happens is you get so overwhelmed with all the information that you don't really see the big picture. And the big picture is really important. That's kind of why I decided to do this topic. So pretty much globalization has made the world a lot smaller. Everything's synchronized. So I mean, if you have pesticides in Argentina, they could affect your health here because you're eating the food from there. Gases from China could be affecting Brazil's rainforest. I mean, these are all things that really happen on a global scale now. It's really a lot different than it used to be. Actually, here's an interesting fact. If everyone in the U.S., or if everyone in the world lived like we do in the U.S., we would need 5 planets to sustain us. And if you were from Europe, it would be 3, but realistically we only have 1, so something's got to change. So really everything you do has an impact, from where you eat, what you buy, where you vacation. These things all have impacts on everything. So embracing green is not only helping yourself, but the planet and future generations. If you want to have kids, something like that, that's something to really think about. And it's really going to improve not only your quality of life, but it could even improve your bank account, which is something I want to talk about. So one way to really save money and also help the environment is to cut back on how much energy you use. A couple ways to do that, because most people actually think it's really expensive. Like they think of solar panels or windmills, which are obvious things that you could do, but I mean that's a little bit, if you don't have the money, I mean there's other things you can do, such as unplugging your electronics that aren't in use, because they're considered phantom electronics, which is like if you have your TV on for an hour and then you have it off for 10, I mean it might be using 1/10 of the energy that it's using when it's off, but in those 10 hours you just paid for another hour of your TV being on. So I mean that's something that you should really think about. There's actually now, my professor told me about this, Howard Reese, he actually goes to Rider and he teaches about green entrepreneurialism and stuff. He told me that there's these power strips that they make now that you can plug things into, and every time that you turn off those electronics, it'll completely cut the power source to that specific outlet, so that won't be sucking power from when you're not using it. And something most people don't really know is that when you have things off, that they're really still using electricity. Another way is to install CLFs, which are the compact fluorescents, which has been a little bit of a topic. Interesting fact, the New York City Public Library replaced all of their lights, 5,311 lights, which will save them $142,000 a year and reduce the carbon emissions by 1.5 million pounds a year, as well as save them 1.4 kilowatts of hour in energy per year. That was from the New York Times. Another thing you could do is actually wash your clothes in cold water if possible, because it was 85% of the energy used by your washer is the heat to warm the water. Also drying racks, stuff like that. It's just real simple things that could really cut down on the bottom line. Another big thing is saving water. That also will save you money. Shorter showers. If you're really not interested in shorter showers, you can get a low flow shower head, which is actually extremely efficient and can also have the same pressure quality. A faucet aerator, which I did not understand what that was until I looked it up. It's actually this thing that you install on your faucet that can reduce the water usage by 50%, but maintain the same heat quality and also pressure that comes out of the faucet. So that's something that if I get a house someday, I'm gonna probably look into. Also, just having, like, if you have a garden, use plants that are local that require less water. So that's something you could really think about. And the reason like water is really important is 36 states are expecting to have water shortages in 2013. And that's pretty serious. I didn't think it was that big of an issue really until I saw some of these facts. Another way to save money is cutting back on gas, and I mean it could be driving, everything. So another way to do that is if you live close enough, walk or bike to work if it's nice enough out. I mean, this winter wasn't exactly a good time to do that. But telecommuting, so I mean, you know, they have Skype now, and all those things. You can use those to do most of your things from work if possible, or even move closer, because in the long term, realistically, especially with gas prices continuously skyrocketing, driving to work isn't exactly something that's, you know, if you're driving an hour every day, instead you could just move 5 minutes from work. It might cost you a little bit more in rent, but really, I mean, the costs outweigh the benefits if you're driving that far. Another thing, if possible, I mean, we all might eventually settle down, some of us may already have or whatever, but lobbying like your local governments to do, like install like sidewalks and bike paths, stuff like that, so that way it's easier for you to travel and less commute time, stuff like that. Right, so a couple of really quick facts. 1 can recycled actually equals 3 hours of television. That's how much energy you're saving. 83% say global warming is serious, from 70% in 2004. 3 trillion gallons of water and $18 billion will be saved if everybody installed water-efficient appliances in their home, and that's just in the United States. So really, there's a lot of different ways that you can become greener, simple changes that will actually make huge differences in everybody's life. So really think of it as like grains of sand on a beach as the whole picture. I mean, you know, one little grain of sand seems insignificant, but in the whole picture, you really make up the beach. So.